Hi everyone, here are 6 gift box ideas that will spice up your Christmas gifts. I also have something special for my viewers at the end. First, let's make the paper box. Start with a standard size rectangle of paper in brown, red, or white. Fold the bottom right corner up until the side meets up with the other side. We're going to make this into a square sheet of paper. There's a rectangle strip on top. Fold it over on both sides so that we can cut it off. Just cut the rectangular strip in a straight line. Now you should have a square paper with a diagonal crease across. We're going to make another diagonal crease, so fold the top corner to the bottom corner. Unfold and you should have an X. Now we're going to fold side to side. Fold the paper in half like this. Unfold and do the same for the other side. Fold the top side to meet the bottom edge. Unfold. You should have an X shape and a plus sign. These are our initial folds. Flip the paper over. We're going to meet all corners to the center at this point. Start with one corner of the paper and meet the corner to the center. The edges of the triangle should line up with the crease lines. Repeat the same for the other edges. Now we're going to fold the sides into the center line here. Start with one side and fold it until it meets up with the center line. Do the same with the other side. This is how it should look like. Now unfold both folds that we just made. We're going to make the same folds on the other side of the square, so rotate your paper and fold both edges to the center line. Unfold. Now pull out the top and bottom flaps. You should see this line running down the side. Push the paper up along that line so that it stands up and creates a wall. You don't want to fold it, just prop it up. The line continues all the way up here, so make sure you fold along the whole line. Do the same for the other side. These will be the walls of the box. Now push in the sides of the walls along this diagonal line here. When you push it, it should naturally fold in. Do the same for the other side. Now just fold down the top flap to create the wall of the box. Crease on the top. Do the same for the other side. Push in on the sides to create the wall. Lastly, fold the top flap down. Adjust your box a little and you're done with the bottom. Now we're going to make the lid of the box. I started with all the initial folds and I folded all the corners to the center just like before. I'm drawing a line so that you can see it better. Now we're going to fold the edges to the center line, but this time, don't touch the top edge all the way to the line. Leave a gap before the center line. Leave a very small gap right before the paper touches the line. It should look like this. When we leave a small gap, it will make the box bigger, which will create the lid. Do the same for the other side. Fold it with the same size gap in front of the line. It should look like this. Now unfold both flaps and do the same for the other side. Rotate the paper and fold both sides to the middle line while leaving a gap. After that, unfold both flaps and continue the box like usual. Also make sure you put the gift inside the box before you do the designs, since some designs will seal the lid of the box. Now we have the lid of the box. It fits nicely on the bottom like this. Now that we have the box, we'll move on to the designs. The first design is easiest. This is a cute Santa box. For this design, you need a red box. By the way, these designs can also be used as regular gift wrapping decorations. To make the black belt, I'm just going to create a strip of black paper. Make sure it's long enough to wrap all the way around the box. Place the belt loosely around the box. Don't attach it yet because we're going to add the yellow piece on top. For this part, I'm using gold glitter paper, but you can use any yellow paper or you can even color your own paper. I just cut out a square. Now fold the paper in half slightly. This will allow us to cut out the middle part. Cut a very small slit on the folded part, not all the way through the paper. As you can see, I only created a small slit in the middle of the square. Now insert your scissors in the slit and cut out the center part with small pieces at a time. Make sure not to cut through the border of the square. My borders were a little bit crooked, so I cut out one side to make it match the others. And now the glitter is all over my fingers. Attach it to the black strip with some glue. Place it in the center. Now put a piece of tape at each end of the black belt and wrap it around the box. Attach it in the back. Here's the finished result. Just ignore the stray specks of glitter. This tree is super simple, just like the last one. You will need a white box and some embroidery floss or green string. Tape one end of the string on the inside of the lid. I removed the bottom of the box to tape it inside. Now you're just going to wrap the string around and create a triangle shape. Make it wider on the bottom and meet at the same spot on top. If you want to switch out the colors, cut off the remaining thread and tape it. Then add your new color under the same tape. I decided to use a different shade of green. Keep wrapping the thread around the box. At the end you should tape it, but I was lazy so I just tucked the whole spool of thread under. I only had a tiny bit of thread left anyway. Now just take a tiny piece of tape to hold the top threads together. This will make the point on the tree. To make the star, I'm bringing back the glitter paper. You could just use yellow paper, of course. I cut out a small star and I'm placing it on top with some tape. I thought it looked a little bit plain, so I'm using this metallic paint marker to add some stars. If you don't have this, you can use a red marker, and I think that will look nice with the green. I mostly drew the stars concentrated on the top with some dots in between. And that's it! The next design is a fake gingerbread cookie. To make the cookie, you can just use brown cardstock, but I didn't have any, so I'm using the top layer of the cardboard. Try to find a warmer reddish brown color, which makes it look more like a real gingerbread cookie. Use the type of cardboard that has a sturdy top layer, like a thick cardstock texture. Peel it slowly to avoid tearing the paper. You don't need to peel the whole thing, just a small section. Then cut out a rectangle. Now, sketch out the reindeer. Start with a small circle for the head, make a medium circle for his chest, and a large circle for the hindquarters. Now start forming the deer shape. It doesn't need to be sharp or clean since this is a gingerbread cookie. Don't add too many small, intricate details. Try to simplify things. Imagine that you're making a cookie, and if a part would fall off in real life, then you should try to combine those smaller parts into a larger shape, like I did for the legs or antlers. The goal is to make it look more like a cookie than an actual deer, so don't be afraid to change the shape of things. Now it's time for the icing. This is my favorite part of making cookies in real life. I'm just using a white gel pen to create the border around the cookie. You can also use white paint if you don't have this. Once you have the border, add some fun designs in the middle like dots and squiggly lines or patterns. Oops, that wasn't supposed to happen. Make sure you don't squeeze out too much. Cut out a small rectangle of cardboard. This will add some height to the deer and it will make it look like a 3D cookie when we put it on the box. Glue the cardboard down, then add the deer cookie on top. To add some more interest, I'm going to wrap some red thread around the box. I'm tucking the string under the same piece of tape that I started with to secure it. This box will be perfect to fill with cookies. This vintage box is my favorite out of all the designs. You need a brown box and some newspaper. I couldn't find newspaper, so I'm just using a random magazine page. Tear the magazine or newspaper on the corner. Try not to make it perfect, just roughly get a triangle shape. The more rough edges, the better. Cut off any excess if needed and glue the paper onto the corner of the box. Now we'll sketch out a vintage car. Make the car very long and blocky, so try to use sharp angles and rectangle shapes instead of curves. I started off with a rectangle shape and I added 2 circles for wheels on the bottom. When coming up for ideas for this video, I had so many designs in mind. I really wanted to do all of them, but I just chose the 6 that I thought would be the easiest. Drawing cars might not be your strength, but you can totally switch it out with other things like a penguin or Christmas tree. What matters the most is not the subject, but the style of drawing. To make it look like a vintage style, make kind of messy lines. Of course, you don't want to make it look too messy, but overlapping and going over the same lines multiple times can make it look like the vintage style that we want. Also, try to have thicker lines in some parts. That will make line variation. Remember to be loose, this isn't supposed to be a clean line art. At the top, I'm just creating diagonal strokes in a triangle shape to make the Christmas tree on top of the car. Don't make too many lines because we'll color it. I'm adding a red ribbon attached to the tree with my marker. Now just use a green marker to color the strokes going in the same direction as the pen strokes on the tree. I recommend using a brush marker so that you can flick the marker to get feathery strokes. Don't forget to avoid the red ribbon part. And now for the quote. I wrote "good times" in cursive. If you have a small box, stick to small quotes so that there's more room to write. Lastly, erase the pencil marks, and that's our vintage Christmas box. If you like cute designs, then this bear box is up next. You need a brown box and some extra brown paper. Sketch out a semicircle ear shape and fold it in half so that when you cut it out, you'll get 2 identical ears. Also cut out 2 smaller semicircles for the inner ears and a rounded triangle shape for the snout. Glue the inner ear shapes onto the brown ear. Leave a little border of brown around the white shape. Now you just need to glue all the pieces on the box. To make the scarf, I'm cutting a red strip of paper that's longer than the width of the box. Now I'll cut off the excess length. I'm using the strip that I cut off to create the tie of the scarf. I just folded one end diagonally over the other. Now glue both parts of the scarf onto the box. Don't forget to glue down the ends of the scarf tie. Now all that's left to do is draw on the face of the bear. It's really simple. I'm drawing a triangle and some lines for the mouth and nose, then 2 circles for the eyes. Place the eyes at about the same height as the top of the snout, and make them the same distance from the snout. This kind of placement will make him more symmetrical and cuter. For finishing touch, I'm adding some highlights using a white gel pen. The bear box is done. Want to send mail to the North Pole? This next box is the perfect design for that. You need a brown box and some white paper. I'm folding the white paper to create a rectangle shape for the label. Cut it out. You should make 2 little rectangles for stamps as well. Glue them on. On the label, make red diagonal stripes around the border and try to keep all of them the same length. Now make blue stripes between the red ones. Don't fill in the gaps completely. Leave a small white space in between the red and blue lines so that it creates a stripe with red, white, and blue. On the label, you can write who you're giving the gift to. Now for the stamps. I'm creating a scalloped edge just like a real stamp. I suggest sticking to one color for each stamp to make it simple. You can do any design you want, but for these stamps, I'm making a candy cane and a Christmas tree design. Now make an ink stamp right on top of the 2 postage stamps. This will make it look like an actual mail package. Be scribbly and loose as that will create the ink stamp look. On the top left corner, I'm making an airplane stamp in red. When you draw the squiggly lines, make breaks and gaps in the line so that it looks like a real ink stamp. Don't just draw a solid line. I did the same technique for the Merry Christmas stamp at the bottom. You can also make some parts of the line thicker or add ink blots and random dots around the stamp, which makes it look even more realistic. Now I'll just add this red and white striped string around the box. Start in the front and wrap it around the back, then cross it and tie the 2 ends in front. That's the finished airmail design. Thanks for clicking on this video, watching it, and staying until the end. My channel reached 100 subscribers, and you, my viewers, are the ones who did this. I really appreciate you all so much. If you watch my videos or even just click on it, thank you. Seeing all your comments and knowing that someone likes what I make is like the greatest reward that I could ever want. There were some times when I felt like no one watched my videos or when I felt like that I've worked so hard for nothing. But after reading your comments and seeing your responses, I know that my hard work has been totally worth it. You know, when I was younger, I even made little skits and fake YouTube videos before I even had a channel. Thanks to all of you, I'm slowly getting closer to reaching my dream. And it's even better that we happened to reach the first milestone somewhat around Christmas time. That's why I added a little Christmas hat on top of the drawing here. I'm still improving my art and my channel, but I think my digital art really improved since I started making YouTube videos. Because of all of you, I had the motivation to create art that I would never have created. Thank you all so much for watching. I really mean it, and Merry Christmas.